Hello, welcome to my series about all Chopin's music. Today we continue our trip through Chopin's etudes. Etude in A-flat major, opus 10, number 10. The etude which brings new kind of difficulties, which I'm of course going to analyze and explain thoroughly to you. Difficulties that are so sophisticated and so detailed that make this etude be one of the most difficult etudes written by Chopin. In Alan Walker's book about Chopin, the newest biography, fantastic biography, we read something like this. And I quote, Hans von Bülow, so very famous pianist and conductor from 19th century, offered the highest accolade to the study in A-flat major number 10 when he wrote. And now there is a quotation of Hans von Bülow. He who can play this study in a really finished manner may congratulate himself on having climbed to the highest point of the pianist's Parnassus. Yes, indeed, I agree. And I'm going to explain it to you. The piece is undoubtedly the most deceptive in the collection. From the listener's point of view, everything sounds straightforward enough. We hear an engaging melody for the right hand with an arpeggiated accompaniment for the left. From the player's point of view, however, nothing is straightforward. Chopin has placed him inside a veritable hornet's nest of cross rhythms and syncopations. The melody first emerges from a background of the triplets, then of doublets. Accents are changed without warning, shifting the balance of the phrase sideways, so to speak, together with the place of each note within it. Material played legatissimo is then repeated staccato. Having unfolded all this in A-flat major, Chopin, seeming to trifle with the player, repeats much of it in A major, which involves an entirely different set of hand positions on the keyboard. This is really incredible explanation and description, which I'm now going to enrich with my playing and with showing you the difficulties. Of course, as always, during our analysis of etudes, we are going to focus at first about what is really difficult in this etude, and then about the music and the construction and how to listen to it consciously. So, sadly, I have to say, to my amazement and great surprise and even shock, when I listened to many recordings of this etude, also recordings from competitions, also, and now you will not believe me, but even some winners of previous Chopin's competitions who played this etude in the first stage, for example, and they didn't realize the difficulties that are in this etude. They seemed to forget about, they seemed not to see what it really is made for. I can't believe it. And, I want to build up a little the tension in this video for you and your curiosity. But what I want to achieve in this video, and what I want to play with you a little bit, and I want all of you to be able to judge if the pianist realized everything that Chopin wrote, because I will show you in the score and in playing what kind of sophisticated difficulties we have in this etude. Extremely hard to do. And unfortunately, they are not being done by many pianists in many recordings. Well, some pianists also fantastic pianists, they realize it very thoroughly. But many also fine, fantastic pianists don't. And this for me is very difficult to understand. Because, of course, from the listener's point of view, frankly, there is no difference if the pianist realizes what I'm going to present for you, the difficulties of this etude or not. But from the, well, Chopin's point of view, and most of all, the idea of this exercise, because this is exercise, but of course very beautiful, but still it's an exercise for us pianists, for the technique, to improve something new. If we don't follow what Chopin wrote, we will never improve this, and we will not realize the goal of this etude. Okay, now I hope your curiosity is from scale 1 to 10 is a 10. Let's start the analysis. What we hear in this etude, we hear the simple melody. Okay, let me play it again better, but we hear the melody, right? Okay, I play it for you again now. And this is the first antecedent phrase, so the first sentence, the question sentence of the whole musical period of the whole part A. Then everything is repeated. But okay, now let's talk a little bit about the difficulties, and then I will explain. First, difficulties that are on the surface, that everybody can see, are in both hands, right? So the right hand has the melody, but this melody is broken. So we have like broken octaves. But not only broken octaves, because the top note has to also play another note in the middle together. So we have one note, two notes, one note, two notes, one note, two notes. And it sounds like this. So this melody, we can say that is coexists in two voices at the same time, and they don't play together, right? They play against each other. But this is the same melody. The difficulty here, of course, is the stamina of the hand, the wrist, very fast movement like this, because we have to go from left to right, right? Let me zoom it now a little so that we can really see the difficulty. Okay, so all the time like this, and all the etudes. So we need a very good stamina. We have a very, very relaxed, flexible hand. Left hand has also not easy arpeggiated accompaniment in a very fast tempo. And all the time like this. So all the etude is, most of the etude is like this. There is only one moment more difficult in the middle part, where the climax is. But now, my friends, and these difficulties are being realized by all the pianists, all the great pianists. They have no problem with playing what I've just played, with playing this etude fast, with phrasing, with beautiful melodies, and so on and so on. This is absolutely, it is realized by 100% of concert pianists. But now, what is really a problem in this etude, what Hans von Bülow knew, he was aware of it when he wrote these words that I quoted for you, is the rhythm. The rhythm and the changes of accents. This etude is most of all, as I wrote here, an exercise for counting and changing accents within the same melody. Very intelligent, very tricky, and fantastic way of writing. I don't know any other exercise, any other study on this particular problem. If you know, please let me know. But I was trying to look for in some, other composers. I couldn't find. What is really a problem? Okay, the whole study is written on 12/8. Now I have to explain everybody. If you are a musician, it can be a little boring for you, but I also speak to not musicians. So 12/8 in the bar, which means we have 12 8 notes in one bar. And now, if you want to become one of the jury members of if the pianist realize what Chopin wrote, it's very easy to do, only listening to the first part A, because everything is here. What is Chopin trying to improve? In the first phrase, in the first sentence, these 12/8 notes are splitted into 4 groups of 3 triplets, 3 notes. And now I show you this because it's very easy to see even if you don't know the notes. So we have 3 8 notes in here on one line, right? 3. Then another, then another, then another. So 4 groups, 3 notes in each group. And that's the whole first sentence. And now I play it for you. And now let's listen what it really creates. Now I really tried. And of course, what we hear 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. But of course, we hear it. But what we really hear is the melody in the upper voice. In the upper voice, because in the upper voice Chopin put accents. So we don't, when we want to judge, we don't have to listen to 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, but we also can listen if we hear the melody in the upper voice, because that's how it really sounds. So again. Okay, and now what happens in the consequent phrase? The same melody, the same notes, everything is the same. But listen, watch, look at this. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. All the time on 2. So we have 6 groups and only 2 8 notes on the group, which makes this theme sounds completely different. And now is what I want to say to you. When we hear the presentation, the interpretation, we should notice the fundamental difference of the first phrase and the second phrase, because the second phrase should sound like this. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Chopin even is using these little slurs to tell us, please cut it every 2 notes. So do like this. Okay, and the last moment is what Alan Walker also wrote, is to be played staccato. So we have in one only page, in the part A, 3 different ways of how to play one melody. Incredible and very difficult, very difficult. This is really written for a accomplished pianist. So, staccato. Staccato, which means it's like chopped, you know. Sorry. And this is the end of part A. So now let's listen to it. First let's listen to it exactly like I will count, and I will show you the difference, because maybe you don't yet know exactly what I mean. Let's listen to it a little slower. First we count on 3. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Now on 1 2. Staccato. Okay, it's so hard to speak and play again. So I play again for you, and I play twice now. First time I play wrongly, and unfortunately we really hear such performances. So I play without caring about this changing. Listen. Okay, and now I will put all my effort to differentiate what Chopin wanted us to achieve and improve. Different accents in each bars. So, without speaking. Finally, we finished part A, and with this also we approached the structure analysis. This was part A. Everything repeated twice with different accents. Now we have part B, and well, I like to call it in this etude, I like to say that this etude has 2 different melodies. And now we have melody number 2. This is what Alan Walker wrote, that Chopin is changing from A flat major to E major. So everything is awkward for the hand because it's completely different. When before we had white keys, now we have black keys. When before we had black keys, now we have white keys. Pianists know what I'm talking about. This is very tricky. This is very uncomfortable. And we have to practice it again from the beginning. Everything is completely different. And he did it on purpose. On purpose. But it's good because we improve. So we should be thankful for him. Anyway, let's listen to this melody. And let's also analyze how it is constructed. Because in general, this etude is genius. It is constructed in a perfect way when it comes to the energy. I will play for you now the first musical period. we go back to triplets now. And now double, I mean two only, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, this was the first musical period, the first part of this second melody. Then it is repeated, but with a little change, which I want you to catch. That's why let me explain a little and analyze it. So the first melody consists of two different parts, and this is the first part. And the second part is in double, and it has a very beautiful moment, very important moment also. When the melody is going up, going up, going up, going up, the tension is more and more and more and more, and we reach the climax, emotional climax, and we are so happy. We are so happy. We release everything, and then everything release, and we can, rest. It's so nice. And then again we start. But now listen, it's a very fine way of writing the whole first musical period. Now we are reaching. I reached. Okay, this was easy. And now it will be repeated, but the second part of this will be different. And I want you to try to see and observe what will change. Now we reach the climax. And here is the biggest, the middle part of the etude, and the biggest climax, and a new difficulty which I will show you soon. What was different? Different was the fact that when we reached the first climax, we didn't release completely, but we released a little, and we reached another one. So two climaxes, and then another one is even higher. Let's watch it. Like, look, the first one. And the second one. Okay, I hope it is clear, right? So if we compare it to the first part, the first part of the second melody. In the first part of second melody we have only one climax. In the second part we have two of them. And then we don't really release. This is fascinating. We reach the greatest tension in the etude, where also difficulties are even higher. And now we will zoom again, and I will show you how wicked Chopin is. Yes, okay. Here we have a little new difficulties. The right hand has to, well, go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down all the time, like this. until it reaches the huge climax. And the left hand is also jumping, also moving. Look, but in an opposite direction. So now. So hands together in a slower tempo so that we can really watch it. Listen. And yes, it is really difficult. It is. We can't hide it that it's difficult. Okay, anyway, let's continue because we will never finish. So, when we reach the huge climax from the scale 0 to 10, we are on 10. Euphoria, you know. We need to relieve. And we need time for that. So, and Chopin is giving us this time in a fantastic way. I like to compare it to gliding, you know, when we are high in the sky and we just glide. Slowly, slowly, slowly down. And this is exactly that. Just listen. Back to part A. And here something absolutely fantastic happens. A miracle happens. Chopin is uniting. He is uniting two melodies. The second melody with this climax moment when we when we went up and then down. This climax melody here is united with the first, connected together. And this will bring us to the coda. Coda, which will also, there will be nothing new. Coda will just slowly disappear into thin air, using the main motif of the main melody in an upper register of my piano. So, let's listen again to the whole part A and differentiate melodies. First melody first. Now second melody. Sorry. And the coda. And everything disappeared. Smorzando, leggerissimo, very, very light. So, to conclude, such a fantastic way to improve a new kind of techniques that we didn't have yet in the whole opus. Perfectly constructed from the energetic point of view. We reach a great climax, then we slowly go down, then two melodies are united and we have the coda. And now let's listen again a little slower with trying to count where exactly we have triplets and where we have these double notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, Double. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1, 2, staccato. Melody number 2 and triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, We reach the climax, and everything release. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3. Now again this melody number 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. We reach the climax. And again another climax. And the middle part. And we are gliding. And we are back in the beginning. And melody number 2. Coda. And that's the end. And now I can take a deep breath, and I can tell you how happy I am that I finished this episode. Because this, I've never played this etude. I practiced it a little a few years ago, but I gave up. I thought that this is impossible. I gave up. And for this project, I took it up again. And I was practicing until the last moment. Even today, this morning, I was still practicing. And I'm still not fully satisfied. And who knows if I will ever be. But anyway, thank you for watching. And see you again in my next episode. Bye bye.